Welcome to Lesson 1, Measuring Length. We can use a ruler with centimeters such as this one to measure the length of a variety of objects. Let's try measuring the length of this pencil. If your ruler does not have a zero at the beginning, then you need to line up your object right with the edge of the ruler. If your ruler does have a zero, then you line up the edge of your object with the zero. So we can see here that our pencil is lined up with the edge of the ruler on the left side. And then if we see how far the eraser goes on the right side here, we see that it is a little more than 6 centimeters long. To be more precise in our measurement, we can use a ruler with not only centimeters but millimeters as well. Millimeters are these smaller units in between the centimeters. Pause the video for a moment and see if you can count how many millimeters it takes to make 1 centimeter. So you, I'm sure, counted that there are 10 millimeters in each centimeter. So now let's use this ruler with millimeters to get a more precise measurement of our pencil. So again, we're going to line up our pencil the way we did before. And we can get the measurement of our pencil in centimeters or millimeters using this ruler. Let's start with millimeters. We know that each centimeter is 10 millimeters, so if we count by tens, we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 millimeters, plus 2 more millimeters right there. So the length of our pencil is 62 millimeters. And if we wanted to get this measurement in centimeters, we know that it's a little bit more than 6. So we have 6 decimal, and the 2 little millimeters makes 0.2 of a centimeter, so it would be 6.2 centimeters in length. So we're going to try another measurement example. I'm sure you realize that the pencil in the first example was quite short. It was a very small pencil. You can use your own ruler to see how long that pencil was. Now we're going to measure an eraser, which just happens to be a gigantic eraser. And this eraser we're going to line up with the edges of our ruler and use our little lines to help us out. There we are. So pause the video now and record the measurement of this eraser in both millimeters and centimeters. When you are ready, come back and see if you got the right answer. So for millimeters, remember we count by tens, so we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 110 plus 7 makes 117 millimeters. And now we need to get the measurement in centimeters. So we see that it's 11. It's not quite 12, but it's more than 11. So we have 11 point, and then if we count the millimeters, we see that there are 7 of them. So 11.7 centimeters. I'm sure you're recognizing the pattern here. It's basically the same number, but there's just a decimal point right there. All right, let's try one more example. We're going to measure this cell phone. Now for a rectangular object like the cell phone, we can measure the long side, which we call the length, or we can measure the shorter side, which we call the width. And I'm sure you could see that both of those measurements would be different because the width is much shorter than the length. But for this cell phone, we're going to measure the length. So we're going to take our ruler and put it sideways right along the length of the cell phone and go ahead and measure it. Okay, so go ahead and measure the length of the cell phone in both millimeters and centimeters. Again, pause the video and come back when you're ready to check your answer. So there you have it. The cell phone measures 105 millimeters in length, and 10.5 centimeters in length. Don't worry if you wrote down 104 millimeters or 10.4 centimeters. If you're within 1 or 2 millimeters of the exact answer, that'll be considered correct. In this lesson, we learned how to use a ruler with centimeters and millimeters to measure various objects. We can see that this paperclip measures 18 millimeters or 1.8 centimeters. What do you notice about this ruler that's different than the rulers that we used in our examples? If you look carefully, you'll notice that this ruler has a 0, and therefore when you start measuring objects, you always have to start at the 0. With our other rulers, there was no 0, and so we started at the edge of our ruler. That's an important little detail to pay attention to because your measurements will be off if you don't do it correctly. And here we have a longer pencil than the one that we were working with earlier, and this pencil measures 75 millimeters or 7.5 centimeters. So have fun with measurements. Make sure you've got your rulers ready to go, and watch the video again and ask your teacher for help if you need it.